What will happen in Math City? After all the craziness in South America, you would think that this next arc would be pretty chill, but since this arc has some pretty clear precedent, it seems like Math City will play out a lot like the Ishigami Village saga. Much like Ishigami Village, there should be a lot of character growth, new characters, and revelations about a certain family history. Plus, we might even get a new antagonist towards the end of things. That's why in this video I'm going to discuss my 5 predictions for the current story in Math City. Be warned that this video will contain manga spoilers. Before I get started, make sure to comment with your predictions. I'll pick my favorite and share it as comment of the week in the next video. This week's comment goes to PB for explaining why people love Nikki so much. If you'd like more Dr. Stone and other manga discussions like this one, then make sure to subscribe and follow along with each week's video. Hey guys, quick message from future Ouji here. At the time of actually recording this video, 206 was the newest chapter, and I assumed we'd be staying in Math City for the foreseeable future. Obviously, this is not the case, and the team will be moving around at least while they wait on Corn City. So for the purposes of this video, just understand that when I talk about the Math City arc, I mean the current arc we're in right now. It's all still relevant considering one of my predictions already came true in 207, but I just wanted to clear up any confusion. Okay, now let's go back to present Ouji. So, in case you're not completely on board yet, let me just quickly explain why Math City will play out a lot like Ishigami Village. As I explained in my video on villains, there's basically 2 ways an arc or saga can go down in Dr. Stone. There's either a relatively straightforward goal that builds tension using villains, or there's a complex goal that builds tension through the use of intense problem solving. Since Senku himself has already said this is gonna be hell, it's pretty clear things are more in line with that latter option. Now, in terms of whether it'll be a quicker arc like with the cell phone, or a more drawn out arc like in Ishigami Village, there's a couple of factors to consider. In Ishigami Village, there was a lot of time spent recruiting new characters. And that might warrant a major duh moment considering it was early in the story, but it still needed to happen because Senku lacked the necessary manpower. The other factor we need to consider is gathering/inventing. With the exception of tungsten, Senku already had most of what he needed for the cell phone, and all the parts were pretty easy to put together. Now, as we've already seen, the Kingdom of Science needs a lot more manpower, and there's going to be a good amount of time spent breaking down the science and doing lots of diligent work, as Senku would probably call it. So that's why Math City should be more like Ishigami Village. But hey, if I'm wrong, you guys have full reign to let me know just how wrong I was. And since this is the internet, I'm sure you'll do plenty of that. But now let's get into those 5 predictions. First, I think there's gonna be a lot of character growth. And I hope you guys didn't put down your duh signs just yet, because this is yet another well-warranted duh moment. I might as well have said there's gonna be more story since there's gonna be more story. But hear me out. As I've said before, a lot of the character growth in Dr. Stone comes from the characters overcoming their inner struggles. And in Ishigami Village, there was a ton of that. Ginro facing his fear to help Senku and Chrome, Kinro accepting the power of science and learning it's okay to get help every now and then, Kohaku putting her faith in Senku and learning she doesn't have to fight all her battles alone. The list goes on. And this character growth comes from the characters having to face the many challenges presented to them as they work towards the big inventions. So with a strong possibility of lots of similar challenges coming our way, it's only reasonable to expect some new character growth. And as far as specifics go, I actually already have a few ideas. What, you think I just use whatever random brain farts happen to come to me whenever I make these videos? Okay, maybe I do, but that's beside the point. In this arc, I think it's reasonable to expect some character growth at least from Suika and the Nanami brothers. Suika has been following in Chrome's footsteps as the new science apprentice, so it might be the case that this arc will play out for her like Ishigami Village did for Chrome. In other words, Suika will have learned how to think on her own and put together her own inventions by the end of this arc instead of relying on Senku's guidance. As far as Ryusui and Sai, there's a lot of room for them to grow in regard to their bond as brothers. True, they're not really on bad terms, and true, they have that brotherly bond in the sense that they understand each other on an unspoken level, but Sai still has his own struggle of reconciling his desire to build games with his avoidance of major enterprises. So what we might see throughout the course of this arc is Ryusui slowly helping Sai understand that he can take on big projects without compromising who he is and what he honestly wants. You know, just some casual capitalist agenda pushing. Now, with all the downtime in this arc, this would also be a good opportunity for the characters to step back and take some time to actually deal with all the trauma they experienced in South America. Although I don't know how or when the characters would logically stop to do that, so I'm not exactly holding my breath for that one. But that's worthy of an entire video on its own, so let's move on to the next prediction. The next thing we can expect is more revelations about the Nanami family. In Ishigami Village, there was a lot of lingering questions about Senku's family history, especially considering we didn't know a lot about his past back then. And of course, the added bonus to recruiting Ishigami Village was finding out about Senku's past in a way that developed his character. Now, right now, I think we're in a similar situation with Ryusui. Ryusui is by no means a flat or boring character. In fact, it is a simple fact that he's one of the most unique characters in the story. But the sad truth is that even though he's had a ton of epic moments since his introduction, Ryusui really hasn't had that much development since the Age of Exploration. And with Sai leading to a brief look into the Nanami family history, it makes perfect sense that this will be the arc where we get that well-needed growth for Ryusui by learning even more about his family. As far as exact details, I'm not really sure. Since we just learned about this university, there's a possibility we'll learn about even more of the Nanami family's enterprises. It could just be part of the history between Ryusui and Sai. It might even be something or someone that's dropped in the current story as a nice plot twist. On that note, we can also expect new allies to be introduced in Math City. Looking back, it's rare to see just one character added to the team in a new arc. The lowest so far, with the exception of Chelsea, was Ryusui and Francois in the Age of Exploration. Pretty epic characters, I might add, but still only 2 new allies. And obviously Ishigami Village gave us a ton of, well, actually all of Ishigami Village. Now, I don't think we'll get 40 plus named allies like back then, but I do think we'll be getting at least 1 or 2 more named allies to help with the computer. As smart as Sai is, he's still just one person. This is going to require a lot of calculations, meaning the more brains the better. And at this point, I'd like to add a recent comment I received. Sadly, I couldn't find the specific comment, so I apologize for not giving you proper credit. But this person had the idea that we would be introduced to some more math experts like Sai. And this would be perfect because we're literally right by a university, and since Sai is a freaking genius, I'm sure he had a few colleagues or some grad students grading papers for him. Plus, I mean, come on. Dr. Stone could always use more nerdy characters to balance out all the roided up teenagers that are constantly getting introduced. So that's what we can expect almost certainly for new allies. Which brings us to the next prediction, being that we can also expect a new antagonist. And I'm carefully choosing my words here because I don't think we'll get a new major villain like Zeno or Ibarra. In Ichigami Village, magma was used in order to mix things up and build up the tension. So I think we can expect a similar use of an antagonist in order to create tension just when the characters think they're in the clear. And while this could be just about anything, we have to remember that the whole reason the team needed to fight Magma, besides saving Ruri anyway, was to acquire alcohol. Not because Senku is low-key a wicked alcoholic or anything. So we need to stop and ask what kind of character might be guarding some of the resources we'll need. Oh, wait, duh moment. We also forgot that everyone else should be petrified right now, so that kinda narrows it down to 2 general options. Either this new antagonist is someone who works for Y-Man or figured out how to defend against Medusas on their own, or this will be someone the team revives themselves who then goes on to fight over their resources. As far as the latter option, that could lead to the team reviving yet another Nanami figure who happens to be big on the whole capitalism thing and decides hoarding all the computer resources and controlling the market, or whatever the heck it is rich people do, would be a better use of time than saving the world. Which would tie into Nanami family revelations, which would also tie into Ryusui and Sai's bond as brothers. Ugh, damn it is hard being this goddamn smart. But let's move on to the next prediction before I stroke my ego even more than I already have. My final prediction, and probably the biggest reach of them all, is that we'll finally get some long overdue world building with the other major cities. If you missed my video on this topic, I basically complained that the new cities feel rushed because we don't have any real connections or context that would make them feel like living, breathing places. Now, I say that this is a reach because, in all honesty, I just don't see too much of this happening. But there is a reason to be optimistic. Like we saw in 206, Senku is relying a lot on Corn City. This means that hopefully we'll spend some time fleshing Corn City out, exploring the dynamics of that area and investing in it like we did with Ishigami Village and Treasure Island. And if that happens, then we could also see something similar happen with Super Alloy City, since I'm sure we'll see them at least once or twice before the end of this arc. But that's basically my 5 predictions for Math City. Character growth, Nanami family revelations, new allies, a new antagonist, and some world building. If even a few of these come true, then Math City could be even better than Ishigami Village, and remind us all why we fell in love with Dr. Stone in the first place. And that's it for this discussion. If you enjoyed this discussion, then make sure to like the video. Also make sure to follow me on Twitch, where I discuss Dr. Stone and other weekly Shonen Jump chapters every Sunday. And if you'd like more Dr. Stone and other manga discussions like this one, then make sure to subscribe and follow along with each week's video. Thank you for watching, and I hope to hear from you soon.